post-conference history. Dan Bonner, tonight's matchups.
And of course, these are not really going to be the starting lineups on the Georgia Tech side. They're going to start their seniors, so Willie Reese and Anthony Sherrod are going to start. But look to see that lineup. Carl Brown in the ball game along with Johnny McNeil for Georgia Tech.
Tom Hammonds controlled the tip, but North Carolina will have the ball first in the front court. King Rice starts at a guard, and so does Jeff Lebo for North Carolina. There's Lebo outside, guarded by Scott. Bucknall on top.
Georgia Tech, Brad, opens in a man-to-man defense.
Bucknall has been so effective from three-point range. Tries to get it into Williams and does. Off the glass, and Williams scores first for Carolina.
Nice catch inside by Williams. Brian Oliver nearly stole that ball. He was dropped way off King Rice. North Carolina going to open in the traps.
Dennis Scott almost thought about a three-pointer from out there on Tech's first possession.
He usually doesn't think too hard and long on that.
Hammonds on top, and Oliver will reset as he looks at Bobby Cremins on the Georgia Tech bench. Anthony Sherrod on the baseline. In and out, Willie Reese had a piece of the rebound and lost it. Jeff Lebo clears it out for North Carolina, leading 2-0. Williams double-teamed in low. Goes up with it anyway, no good, and Reese this time does get the rebound, much to the delight of the Georgia Tech fan. Scott for three. He's just broke his own ACC single-season record. That's his 99th three-pointer, and he's done it in 48 straight games and Tech leads.
And he's had excellent games in the past against North Carolina, Brad.
Georgia Tech double-teaming Williams in low, but he still gets around the double-team of Oliver and Hammonds and scores.
Brad, Brian Oliver's dropping down every time to double-team the inside guys, leaving King Rice alone.
What a pass by Scott, and Hammonds slams it. Georgia Tech back in front.
Brad, before the ball game, we talked about the importance of Dennis Scott not only shooting that three-pointer, but penetrating the North Carolina defense, and you can see the kind of pressure a guy who has the ability, as he does, to pass the ball so well can put on a team. That's just a great penetration and pass.
Because Scott's such a great outside shooter, you forget he's 6'8" sometimes. Chilcott off the glass with a nice turnaround shot. And North Carolina seesaws back in front by a point. Just 2 minutes into the ball game here in Atlanta. Hammonds will take the outside shot. In and out, and Williams the rebound.
Georgia Tech regular starters are back in the ball game, Brad.
Didn't take long to switch that up. We knew that would happen. Here's Bucknall outside. Way long. McNeil's going to scramble for the rebound. Collides with Lebo. Tech ball.
Brian Oliver does a nice job getting past the double team. You notice how Dennis Scott just keeps the pressure on, has the lane to the basket. Great pass to Hammonds, but Oliver really starts that by beating the trap out front.
Carl Brown at the point for Georgia Tech. Brian Oliver will play the second guard spot now, and he's got it on the left wing. Brown opens up with a shot. That's a surprise. Williams with another rebound.
Brown knows as well as anybody else that he's got to be an offensive threat so teams just don't drop off of him.
Madden touches it for the first time, as does J.R. Reed, and the whistle and a foul in low on Johnny McNeil.
Georgia Tech staying in that man-to-man defense, and North Carolina does a real good job moving without the basketball. J.R. Reed, big, strong guy, looked like he caught the ball and was going to grab McNeil's head there for a minute. McNeil's got to do a better job either getting around completely in front or playing behind.
McNeil has had foul trouble this year. There's Dean Smith, 28 years, and what an amazing string of victories. 19 straight 20-win-plus seasons. J.R. Reed's first shot is short. And Hammonds, such an authoritative rebound, but he took it away from his own teammate, Brian Oliver.
Well, you don't want to get too close to Hammonds. You could lose more than just the ball.
Scott, nice move, and the jumper is good.
That's going to make him so much more effective, Brad, with that standstill jumper. If guys like Madden that time are not going to just be able to run at him. Nice penetration box.
Georgia Tech back to a one-point lead. Lead has changed hands virtually every time down court. Williams over a double team again off the glass. No good. Hammonds sweeps it off. Tech tried to run, and Williams got a piece of Carl Brown's pass.
One thing that Carl Brown gives Bobby Cremins' team, you get a look at Bobby right there, is a lot more speed in the backcourt. Brown really tries to force the ball up. Scott Williams made a nice play knocking that ball away.
Rick Fox is going to check into the North Carolina lineup, and Williams will get a breather. And Fox has been on a tear as of late, shooting almost 72% from the field his last 7 games.
It's amazing the number of quality players that North Carolina can continually run at you off that bench.
As we mentioned, starting the game, 6 players average in double figures. Scott for 3 again. Short this time, and Bucknall the rebound. And Brown stole the pass. Hammonds has trouble handling it. He'll take it over Bucknall anyway. It's in and out. Scott had it blocked by Fox. Everybody will regroup.
Boy, you saw some great defense there by Steve Bucknall.
Oliver on the baseline. Too hard.
That's just some fine play both ways.
Tech with their biggest lead of 3. Bucknall looks in, got it in low to Fox. And he missed that shot. He built up his field goal percentage, and he missed one in close, and Hammonds has his 3rd rebound.
I think he was expecting Tom Hammonds to give some pressure.
Oliver, nice drive, fouled by Jeff Lebo, and moved to the basket.
You don't score 2,000 points by standing around being a spectator. One thing you do is you stay after it. Tom Hammonds is being guarded by JR. JR has to go to help out. Hammonds goes right to the boards. Nice job by Hammonds. But again, Georgia Tech causing some problems for North Carolina with the penetration.
Bobby Cremins in his 8th year at Georgia Tech. Ryan Oliver, a junior guard from just up the road, Smyrna, Georgia. And he hits his first free throw. Georgia Tech, the top free throw shooting club in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
One of the weaknesses of Dean Smith's team is that they're not very fleet of foot. So Carl Brown, doing a nice job racing the ball up the court, has created some easy opportunities early for the Yellow Jackets.
15 and a half minutes to go first half. And Georgia Tech's Yellow Jackets have their biggest lead of the ball game at 11-6. Now, a word from our good friends at Budweiser. 15 minutes, 30 seconds to go first half. Georgia Tech with its biggest lead of the game of 5 as the Yellow Jackets shooting only 36%, but damn, they've hit the offensive boards well and got some buckets in close.
Teams, as you say, Brad, not starting out shooting the ball very well, but the team's really getting up and down the court. A lot of intensity. Tom Hammonds, of course, his last home game.
Georgia Tech just doesn't lose very often at Alexander Memorial Coliseum. That's why this game was switched from the Omni, where they played the last several years. In low. And the score by Madden, his first basket of the night.
Nice passing by North Carolina against the Georgia Tech trap that time. North Carolina changing up the defense. They were in a zone. Now it looks like they're back to the man-to-man.
Thought about it. Not the greatest shooter on Tech's club. Brian Oliver's one of the better ones. Oliver for 3. And Tech now leads 14-8.
Carl Brown really trying to deny the ball from King Rice. Brian Oliver just popped Rice pretty good.
Brian Oliver picks up his first foul of the night.
Everybody's sort of furrowing their brows out there saying, what, who, me? And Rice went down the screen on Oliver, and Oliver, he's a guard who plays like a big guy, and he gave a big guy type forearm right there.
Rice will inbound to Madden. Madden, the leading scorer on Carolina's team, but such great balance as we talked about. Lebo, the 3-pointer, is long, and he'll get his own rebound.
What a great tip by Rick Fox.
Fox puts it up from 14, no good. Tech's trying to fight over the rebound again, and this time it costs them as they lose it out of bounds.
That's a hustle play. Coach, of course, never wants to lose the ball, but when you lose the ball with 3 guys going after it like that, can't hurt but so much.
Bobby Cremins will sit down about twice tonight over the course of the game.
When he sits down, he'll have his head in his hands, shaking his head.
JR will take it from the free throw line, and Reed has his first basket of the night, and it cuts it to a 4-point Georgia Tech lead. Oliver pulls up quickly on the other end, and Fox pulls off the rebound.
Georgia Tech really trying to beat North Carolina down the court on offense.
We called that earlier with North Carolina being a little slower of foot than Georgia Tech.
When Oliver is matched up against King Rice, he's really ignoring him when Rice is on the outside.
Nice pass in the paint to Madden. Missed the shot, though, and McNeil the rebound.
And you see who was there? Brian Oliver was there with the double team. King Rice has to realize that and start being more aggressive on the offense.
Hammonds wants the ball in low against J.R. Reed. Let's see if they get it to him. There it is. Baseline turnaround is short. And Fox, a nice rebound.
Good pressure by J.R., forcing Hammonds to jump backward on that shot.
Here's J.R. on the other end. His turnaround's way short, but Madden is
for North Carolina that it was the air ball because Madden was woefully out of position for the rebound, but the ball came right to him.
That doesn't hurt Madden's field goal statistics, the top field goal shooter in the ACC, and it's a 2-point Georgia Tech lead. Hammond's trying to stretch it back to 4 and doesn't get it, and Fox has another rebound. Rice runs it up. In low, Madden, nice pass out to Reed. He'll try to put it up to the top, and we're even at 14.
Brad, one of the raps against J.R. Reed is that he has yet to develop an outside jump shot, but he's drilled one from 15. That was about from 13.
He's going to fool us tonight, that's for sure. Georgia Tech has 2 3-point shots so far in the night. This is a guy that loves to take them.
North Carolina was in a zone that time. Georgia Tech doing a good job of recognition, getting the ball to Dennis Scott.
Scott's 100th tray of the year. Georgia Tech by 3.
Scored a lot of points that way.
Oh, you sure do. Rice, Fox had an opening for a moment. Trying to get it back to Lebo, almost stolen by Brown.
Nobody's guarding King Rice.
18 on the shot. Steal by Scott. Scott moves it up in a hurry. Carl Brown will take the jumper. Short. The rebound comes off the Carolina. Madden may have gotten away with a travel there.
Just a great rebound by Madden.
Lebo outside. And he's fouled as he puts the shot up by Carl Brown.
Boy, these teams are really going after one another, Brad. This is what college basketball is all about.
At this rate, this thing could end in a knockout in about the 7th. Moving it up and down in a hurry. Georgia Tech with a 3-point lead with 12:03 to play, and J.R. Reed will get a breather, as will Kevin Madden. Carolina has the numbers to throw at Georgia Tech, as Dan mentioned earlier. Georgia Tech doesn't have that kind of bench strength.
But Bobby Cremins has done a nice job all year utilizing what bench strength he has. And basically, from his guys coming off the bench, he doesn't need a lot of points and rebounds. He just needs some quality minutes so he can give his big guys a rest.
You don't expect Lebo to miss much. #1 free throw shooter in the ACC, and in fact, the career leader in North Carolina history, almost 84%. Going for his 30th straight, and he hits it. So Lebo's first 2 points of the night cuts it back to a 1-point Georgia Tech lead.
You get a look at Steve Bucknall coming in the game there for Lebo. In the past, when Lebo had gone out last year for North Carolina, there goes your 3-point threat. But Bucknall having a great year from beyond the 3-point line, so Carolina able to keep that 3-point threat in the game.
Georgia Tech by 1. Sherrod's double teamed and loses it to Rice. He'll do it himself. Too hard, and Sherrod picks it out of midair.
That was a smart defensive play by Dennis Scott. Didn't foul, but bothered him just enough.
Scott way outside. No good on the 3-pointer this time, but Georgia Tech will keep possession. Last touch by Williams. Bobby Cremins. Yellow Jackets huddle around him.
You don't always have to block the shot on the fast break to be playing good defense. Dennis Scott gives him basically the shot block fake right there, causes him to shoot an air ball as a layup. That's just a real fine play.
11 minutes, 36 seconds to go in the first half. Georgia Tech 17-16 leaders. Holly Farms Player of the Game Award brought to you by Holly Farms, America's #1 brand of fresh chicken.
Here's an ACC final score. Duke 74, Clemson 79.
Georgia Tech with a 1-point lead over North Carolina with 11:36 to go first half. Brad Nessler and Dan Bonner with you from Atlanta. And a good ACC game going here early.
North Carolina back to the man-to-man defense. Really a lot of pushing and shoving going on against Hammond's inside.
Sherrod trips, almost lost it. Dennis Scott, Georgia Tech's leading scorer so far in this one. Nice job defensively by North Carolina. Brown gets some penetration. Scott will drive the baseline. And got it to go, and he's fouled.
He's going to have an opportunity for a 3-point play the old-fashioned way. Once again, with real good penetration by Dennis Scott. You see King Rice coming to him to defend that 3-point play. Now this is just a great shot by Dennis Scott, getting it up over Scott Williams. And interestingly, Brad, This is the 4th game that Dennis Scott has played in against the North Carolina Tar Heels, and this is the first time in his career that he's gone to the line against the Heels.
You believe that? An 82% free throw shooter, and he shows why there. Georgia Tech back to a 4-point cushion.
Carolina bench up. They thought Tom Hammonds was in the lane about an hour and a half too early.
Scott Williams on top, guarded closely by Maurice Britton. Rice in low to Williams in the paint. Gets Britton in the air. Missed the shot. Partially blocked by Mo Britton, and Brian Oliver pulls down the rebound.
North Carolina trying very hard to attack inside.
Scott guarded by Bucknell.
Tom Hammonds inside asking for the basketball.
Scott for 3. In and out. Chilcutt the rebound.
Nice block out by Chilcutt. Just moved Hammonds right out of there.
Jeff Denny, who's checked into the lineup. King, Rice, and Brown gives him some room. On the baseline, running out of real estate was Bucknell. Pass in low, and a foul from behind. It'll be on Maurice Britton. That'll be his first.
North Carolina has so many folks that they can run into the game on those interior positions. But Dean Smith really has an advantage. He can keep forcing that ball in there. He's going to get some fouls called, and Georgia Tech just is not that deep on the inside.
Chilcutt and Denny sit down, and Madden and J.R. Reed check back in, and now Dennis Scott is going to get a breather for Georgia Tech. There you look at the Carolina bench. And J.R. Reed back in the lineup, consensus All-American a year ago, member of the Olympic team. Georgia Tech up by 4, 20-16, almost the midway point of the first half. Williams in the paint, guarded by Hammonds. One-hand hook's good. Williams has 6.
Hammonds really has himself a job tonight, trying to play tough defense in there, but not get in foul trouble.
Britton. Overplayed by J.R. Gets it to Oliver off the glass. Too hard. Britton keeps it alive. Tom Hammonds outside. Too hard. Bucknell the rebound. Wide opens Williams on the other end, and he missed the slam. He's going to get called for the foul.
Brad, I think he was bothered by Carl Brown. He looked at Carl Brown for an instant. That distracted him. Brown here with the penetration. Now usually this is just 2, count him for Hammonds, but he misses it. Now Williams drifts off down the court. Now watch him, he sort of takes a backward glance, and then his feet fly out from under him.
A thoroughbred on the run, and all of a sudden a horse fly in the corner of his eye, and he missed the jam.
Gee, I wonder how you can miss one like that.
Georgia Tech up by 2. Whitmore in the lineup, and he loses the handle and loses the ball for Georgia Tech. Last touch by Brian Oliver. Whitmore a little too anxious maybe. And look at this. Talk about tightening up the ACC race, and we heard a roar a moment ago, and it's for that reason. Clemson has upset Duke 79-74. Whitmore almost got the steal back for Georgia Tech. J.R. Reed in low. Bucknell had a notion from three-point land, and now Fox double team. And Carolina, and it's going to throw this one away. Brown hustles down, and he's fouled by Lebo. Great hustle by Carl Brown, Dan.
Kyle Brown gives the Yellow Jackets such a dimension of speed that they don't have when he's in the game. Fox is going to try to get the ball inside, but then as he's double-teamed, he pitches it away. Now this is Georgia Tech's ball if Lebo picks it up because it's an over and back, but by that hustle, he gets a foul on Jeff Lebo. That's just a real fine play.
Boy, Carl Brown really made up the lag on Jeff Lebo. Picks up the ball, and Georgia Tech still with a 20-18 lead. We haven't had a score here in a minute and a half or so.
North Carolina drops back into a zone. They've been switching between zones and man-to-man.
Whitmore on top to Oliver. Hammonds in low. Brown not a big scoring threat.
Zone is probably pretty good defense with Dennis Scott on the bench.
Whitmore is going to take the outside jumper.
If you give Whitmore time to load up like that, he's going to kill you.
He's definitely not afraid to shoot for a redshirt freshman. He jumps in the fray and gives Georgia Tech again a 4-point lead. Bucknell for 3. Oh, good. There's a rebound. Wow. Number number 3 rebounder in Tech history, showed you why. Brian Oliver's three-pointer, no good. Hammonds almost got a piece of that one, but JR clears it out for the Tar Heels. Bucknell trying to get fancy, and Brown stole it. Ahead to Whitmore. He can't get to it. And had he gotten that, well, the ball's still alive, excuse me. Hammonds scored.
He couldn't get it to lay it in, Brad, but by great hustle, he saved it, and what a job by Hammonds to get down the court.
Georgia Tech up by 6, and the capacity crowd at the Thriller Dome is loving it. Reed on the baseline. Scoring. Nice move by J.R. Reed. He's got 6. Whitmore. Outside again. Got it again.
He has time to get set, and he just sticks it in the goal.
Bucknell goes one-on-one with Hammonds. Try to get it in to Fox and had it knocked out of bounds by Brian Oliver. Both these teams are hustling. Georgia Tech playing great hustling defense.
Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets start to break.
7 minutes, 16 seconds to go in the first half. Georgia Tech with a 6-point lead, 26-20. We'll be back in Atlanta after this word from our good friends at Budweiser. 7:16 to go first half. Georgia Tech enjoying a 6-point cushion, 26-20. The announcers of this game are approved and selected by Raycom Sports Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, unauthorized duplication, or reception of this broadcast without the express written permission of Raycom Sports Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions is prohibited. 26-20. Georgia Tech with a lead with 7:16 to go first half. You see the shooting's not the greatest, and both these clubs are in the top 3 in the field goal percentage categories in the ACC. We have a foul on the inbounds pass
on Maurice Britton. And Brad, it's one of those games where, yeah, the shooting's not very good, but the intensity with which this game is being played makes it a very, very entertaining basketball game.
Fox outside, and he gets the 3. That's the first 3-pointer for North Carolina tonight.
You figure your threes are going to come from Bucknell and Lebo. That's an unexpected source of support for the Tar Heels.
You mentioned Fox has been shooting so well over the last 7 games or so, and he cuts it to a Georgia Tech 3-point lead. Fox knocks it away. Pass intended for Brian Oliver. And Dennis Scott's going to check back in for Bobby Cremins.
And David Whitmore is going to go out. Whitmore with 2 big baskets, doing a nice job for Bobby Cremins off the bench. And Whitmore gets a well-deserved round of applause from a very vocal crowd.
Over 9,000. A little confusion in there. Lebo goes down. No foul. Oliver in low. Hammonds against J.R. Reed. Flies through the paint and threw up an air ball.
Good defense by Lebo. He doubled down and threw that shot off.
Fox thought about taking another 3, drives the paint instead and scores. Fox with 5, and back-to-back baskets for North Carolina. Cuts it down to Georgia Tech 26-25. Dennis Scott works it out.
Carolina back in his zone defense. It's like a 2-3.
This man can be a zone buster, though. Dennis Scott, sophomore forward. There he goes. Fox, another rebound. Fox has played extremely well.
That was a long shot.
He's taken a couple of bombs out there tonight.
It's almost out by the GT out there on the court.
Fox has 5 straight points for North Carolina. They can take the lead if they score this trip down. Lebo from way out. And now, Jeff Lebo's going to hear it from the student body at Georgia Tech about that air ball.
Don't expect Jeff Lebo as some more subs come in the ball game for North Carolina, but you really don't expect Lebo to take a shot like that. Pretty good defensive pressure by Brian Oliver.
North Carolina 1 for 5 from 3-point land. Georgia Tech is 3 out of 8 from outside the arc. Scott might take it from there.
That was good penetration by Carl Brown, but when he does that, Scott has to move closer to the basket.
Brown in low to Scott this time. Almost lost the handle and walked with it. And relatively few turnovers. That's 6 against Georgia Tech, though. Dennis Scott's nursing a bad toe. They thought it was broken. Took x-rays earlier this week, and it wasn't. He suffered that last week in practice. Didn't hamper him when he had 34 points against Notre Dame on Saturday. Fox now has 7 straight for North Carolina. And the Tar Heels have the lead with 5 minutes to go in the half. Hammonds in low is double team.
Boy, great play by Bucknall. You would expect when Georgia Tech gets the ball over on that side of the court, Brad, where Dennis Scott can feed into Tom Hammonds, that's a pretty good setup. Now Fox is guarding Scott, and he drops down in double teams. And watch Bucknall go back and cover Scott, so Hammonds doesn't have the option of throwing it back for the three-pointer.
The man that was probably open was Carl Brown, and they're not afraid of his shooting.
That's exactly who was open, Brad, and that's great defense. Great team defense by North Carolina.
Georgia Tech trailing by 1. 27-26 Tar Heels. Big game in the ACC for both these clubs. Johnny McNeil. Oliver pushes it into Hammonds. Patented turnaround jumper doesn't go, and Carl Brown will take it off for Georgia Tech.
Hammonds not really shooting the ball well so far this evening.
Brown, Oliver in low to Hammonds, away from behind by Williams. Oliver outside, no good. Bucknall the rebound. Here comes Carolina. King Rice will probably slow it up and go out to a three-point shot by Bucknall. He's still no good from out there tonight. Tommy Hammonds the rebound.
Scott Williams lucky he didn't get a foul called on him that time. Hammonds with a real powerful rebound. Bucknall has been so good from three-point range, as you mentioned, hasn't hit tonight. You see Scott Williams there just flip that hand up, knock the ball away from Hammonds. Crowd thought that was a foul.
Tech has missed their last 4 shots and trail by 1. Hammonds cross court, dangerous pass, but he got it to Scott for 3.
I thought Fox got his hand on the ball as Scott was taking it up for the shot.
Dennis Scott's got 14 points. And Georgia Tech back in front by a bucket. Fox changes that in a hurry. His second three-pointer of the night. So Fox has made 4 of 6 shots tonight. We mentioned coming in for Dean Smith, he was shooting 72% from the field in the last 7 games. And North Carolina leads with 3:20 to go, 30-29. We'll be back in Atlanta in a moment.
North Carolina's Rick Fox has really been on a tear over the last 7 games, shooting 70% from the floor, averaging 16 points a game. One thing he hasn't been doing is filling it up from three-point range. He's got 2 tonight. You can see right there, Brad, he scored the last 10 North Carolina points, and that might be Georgia Tech's best defense for him when he sits down.
You got that right. A well-deserved rest for Rick Fox as he's given North Carolina the 1-point lead. Seesaw battle with 3:19 to go first half. Oliver's triple team.
Oliver doing a nice job getting through that trapping pressure.
Oliver now will play the point. Whitmore in there along with Scott, Hammonds, and McNeil. Pass in low. Hammonds double team. Scott for 3. No good this time. And foul on Whitmore over the back.
Over the back of Jeff Lebo, who did a real nice job blocking out. Georgia Tech got what they wanted this time. Inside to Tom Hammonds, then back out to Dennis Scott. Scott misses it. Jeff Lebo creates that foul just by maintaining good position.
So North Carolina with a 1-point lead. See the foul situation. Georgia Tech one away from the limit. Williams in the paint scores. Nice shot by Scott Williams. He has 8 points. Andy Crimmins with 152 wins at Georgia Tech over 8 seasons.
He has seen his team outscored 12-3 over the last couple of minutes, Brad.
Scott to Oliver on top. Hammonds has been relatively quiet. Brian Oliver open, didn't take the shot. Surprised Scott didn't. Try to get a pass into McNeil, knocked away by North Carolina. Georgia Tech shooting only 34% from the field so far in the first half.
Georgia Tech has done a nice job at various points, Brad, penetrating the North Carolina defense, whether it be man-to-man or zone, but then everybody stands there and watches the penetration. Oliver on that last play could have stepped in for an easy basket.
Hammonds is good in there, and Williams picks up the foul, or was it?
It was Scott Williams. Scott Williams gets the foul. The North Carolina defense, alternating between man-to-man and zone, has done a nice job keeping the ball away from Tom Hammonds. Looked like Lebo got the foul right there.
Tom Hammonds will go to the free throw line, where he's a 79% free throw shooter. In fact, he was up there in the low 80s for quite some time in the ACC season this year.
When Hammonds has been able to catch the ball inside, North Carolina has double teamed and made Hammonds release the basketball. That foul was called on Scott Williams. That time they did not. Hammonds was able to dribble around and get in pretty good position.
Hammonds' rebounding has been one of the keys for Georgia Tech tonight, more than his scoring. He's a number 2 scorer in the ACC, and he hits the free throw. He got 7. Hammonds plays the best against top 20 teams for Bobby Cremins, averaging over 20 points and 7 rebounds and shooting 59% from the floor against top 10 clubs.
On his career, he's averaging almost 18 a game against North Carolina.
You see his numbers on the season, second only to Danny Ferry in scoring in the conference. He missed the second free throw, though. Georgia Tech trails North Carolina by 2 with just over 2 minutes to play first half.
Georgia Tech now drops back into his own defense.
Fox tried to get it to J.R. Reed, stolen by Georgia Tech. They can tie if they score. Hammonds drives on Reed, kicks it out to Whitmore.
And here's Whitmore standing outside again when Hammonds is penetrating inside. He could have cut and had himself a 4 or 5 foot shot, but he elected to stand out in the corner.
Whitmore, the least experienced of the Tech players on the floor right now as far as ACC competition. Hammonds over Reed. Well, the pro scout said maybe he didn't have an outside shot. I think they've
Maybe they
changed their mind.
that position.
Hammonds with 9. And we're even with 1:20 to play first half.
Georgia Tech showing that zone again.
Great play. Dennis Scott, they tried to alley-oop to Fox, and Dennis Scott with a great job fronting Fox, and he'll probably take it on the other end. No, the assist instead. Tech back in front as Johnny McNeil gets his first basket of the game with a minute to play.
Brad, the last 2 times Georgia Tech has created a turnover and gone down and converted it into baskets.
Madden in close, no good. Hammonds, his 7th rebound. Here comes the Yellow Jackets.
Another good defensive series.
Scott, wow, too far out. Oliver got the rebound and a nice block.
Only 35 seconds left in the half, Brad. The shot clock is off. North Carolina going to spread the floor and try for the last shot of the half.
36-32, you see the game clock.
That's 7 in a row for Georgia Tech, Brad.
King Rice holds it out near midcourt.
They were ahead 26-20, then lost the lead. It looked like their defensive spark went out a little bit, but they got it back the last couple possessions.
Bucknell makes the move, got the pass in low to J.R. Reed. Tom Hammonds knocks it away. Madden has it blocked by Hammonds, but Madden's second attempt is up and good. And for Madden, his 6th point at halftime cuts the North Carolina lead, the Georgia Tech lead, to just a pair. Georgia Tech 15-3 when leading at halftime, and at intermission, the Yellow Jackets 36, North Carolina 34.
We talked about North Carolina's powerful inside game. They got some big, strong guys in there. J.R. Reed recovers the ball. Hammonds knocks it away. Madden, though, is going to hang right with it and put it back in to draw within 2. But good power play inside by North Carolina.
It is halftime here at Alexander Memorial Coliseum. The hometown Yellow Jackets in front. Georgia Tech leads North Carolina 36-34. North Carolina 4-5 on the season when they trail at halftime, Dan, and Georgia Tech 15-3 when they lead at the break, so we could have a great second half. And a capacity crowd of well over 9,000 with a standing ovation that lasted a long time for Tom Hammonds.
Senior day is always an interesting thing, Brad. With a guy like Hammonds, everybody's appreciative of what he's done. When I played in college, everybody applauded at senior day. They were just glad to see me go.
Well, they love having you back now in this business. Georgia Tech with a 2-point halftime lead. We mentioned North Carolina, not the greatest when they trail at halftime. They're 4-5 when trailing at halftime. When they've got the lead at intermission, they haven't lost. They're 20-0.
They start in the man-to-man. They lose Brian Oliver, and he makes them pay for it.
And Oliver with his 9th point, and Georgia Tech in front by 4.
Carl Brown really using his quickness to good advantage tonight, on both ends of the court.
Madden to Bucknell. Bucknell tried to get it in low, kicked away by Brian Oliver.
North Carolina starts the second half offensively, Brad, a lot the same way that they started the the first half, and that is that they're trying to punch the ball inside.
Florida, for the first time in the 57-year history of the SEC, can do no worse than a tie for the SEC crown with that win over LSU. That is a big one for the Gators. In low, Williams over Hammonds, and he got it off the glass. So Williams now in double figures with 10. And it's Georgia Tech by 2, just a minute into the second half.
Hammonds with no personal fouls, so he can afford to be aggressive defensively.
I can't believe Scott didn't take the 3. Well, I believe it now.
He probably wondered, what the heck am I doing out here? I'll just shoot this baby.
His 4th 3 of the night, and he's got 17 points. Williams given some room by Hammonds. J.R. Reed double team. Kicks it back out to Bucknall, almost stolen by Oliver. Madden to Reed. Got bumped in the paint, I think, by Oliver from behind.
That's just tremendous ball movement by North Carolina. Talk about being able to pass the ball there. Madden right at the end of it goes to J.R. Reed. Carl Brown does a nice job forcing J.R. to put the ball on the floor and go to the basket, and then Oliver picked up the foul.
Bobby Cremens and his top assistant Kevin Cantwell and J.R. Reed at the free throw line. J.R. has owned Georgia Tech for Dean Smith over his stay with the Tar Heels, averaging 17 points against the Yellow Jackets per ball game. There's his season numbers. J.R. hits both free throws. He has 8. And it's a Georgia Tech 3-point lead.
J.R. looks like he's growing his hair taller there, Brad. You think that's making him bigger?
6'10" and a half now. Dennis Scott drives, kicks it out to Brian Oliver. His jumper, no good. And J.R. got the rebound and is fouled by Johnny McNeil.
Now the foul is going to be called on J.R. Reed coming over the back of Johnny McNeil. You can see what Dean Smith thinks about the call. Brian Oliver has been open in this half. There's McNeil jumping back. I really don't know there. J.R. pulling the ball down. That's a call an official usually makes, though, and there's contact. The call is usually against the guy who's in the back. Lebo
knocked the ball away, kicks it back in. Brian Oliver picks up the loose ball and has it knocked away as he took the trip to the hoop. King Williams got a piece of it.
Teams continue to play with that intensity that we saw throughout the first half.
It slowed just a little in the final couple of minutes of the first half out of fatigue, I think, but they're back at it now.
The students are all standing. They've been standing the entire game.
Scott into Hammonds, double team, back to Scott. Carl Brown from 18. And he got his own rebound with good hustle.
We had that instance once again where Hammonds is double teamed down inside, but somebody's still available to guard Dennis Scott because nobody was guarding Brown. Look, nobody's guarding him now. Now, when Brown catches that ball in that situation, he really ought to drive to the basket.
Make somebody commit.
Absolutely. They may not guard him 18 feet from the basket, but I guarantee you somebody will pick him up at about 13.
They picked this guy up at about 26 feet.
When he gets across half court, he feels he's in range.
Oliver in low. Nice pass to Hammonds. Missed it off the glass, but tipped it with a left hand.
Not only big and strong, but what an athletic move to be able to bounce right back up.
Hammonds with 11. That's 104 games in double figures in his brilliant career. J.R. Reed answers on the other end.
J.R. with another jump shot from about 8-9 feet away.
J.R. in double digits with 10. So Williams, Reed, and Fox all with 10 points for North Carolina. There's the balance we talked about. Georgia Tech by 3, 43-40, under 17 minutes to play. Hammonds, as Scott posted in low this time.
Georgia Tech had what they wanted with Hammonds on the inside and Scott on the outside, but Scott elected to go back out.
17 on the shot clock. Hammonds over Williams. No good. J.R. Reed will have an easy rebound.
Hammonds only 4 for 10 shooting in the first half.
Maybe got a little bit of the jitters from the pregame ceremony, putting his jersey in glass. I don't know.
Somehow I can't picture Tom Hammonds with jitters.
Scramble for a loose ball. Georgia Tech will have it. Bucknall and Oliver went after him. North Carolina with 9 turnovers tonight.
He sort of lost the handle on this one. Bucknall trying to control it. In that situation, he tried to dribble it, Brad. What he's got to do is pick it up. You can see how disgusted he is with himself.
There's the turnovers. We mentioned the Tar Heels' 9th one that last trip down, and Georgia Tech with a 3-point lead can add to it with 16 minutes to play.
North Carolina back in the zone. Notice how they drop off Carl Brown.
Scott the three. McNeil, tough rebound. And Johnny McNeil misses the stick back, but Hammonds is there. He misses and Reed the rebound. Tech had 3 chances and couldn't convert. Here comes Madden on the other end. Fouled by Carl Brown. At least he's going to make him go to the free throw line with that foul.
Interestingly, Brad, the Georgia Tech guards get frozen here watching this play. Georgia Tech had 2 offensive rebounds right there, and both Oliver and Brown sort of stepped toward the basket, so Brown really had to hustle to recover. He had nothing to do but foul down there.
Bucknall sits down, and so does Williams, and Chilcutt, you see, comes into the lineup, as does Rice. And Rick Fox is about set to come in. He'll come in for Madden, the free throw shooter. There's King Rice.
Georgia Tech has 11 offensive rebounds in this ballgame.
And the free throw is good by Madden. He's only a 65% free throw shooter. Yet he is North Carolina's leading scorer, almost 15 and a half a game. And he misses the second. Carl Brown will run it up for the Yellow Jackets.
Tries to cut in front of J.R. Reed.
Dennis Scott's 3. That's his 5th for the night. He had 9 against Carolina in the first meeting.
North Carolina really not doing a very good job finding Dennis Scott on the transition play. Scott's made him pay for it. Georgia Tech now back to his zone.
They do look lost on defense at times as to where Dennis Scott is. He's 6'8". He weighs about 230. He's hard to miss, but they're missing him.
When Carl Brown brings it up quickly and penetrates like he did there, though, Brad, it draws the defense.
Chilcutt in low on the baseline. Chilcutt's got 4 points. Tech by 3 with 15 minutes to play.
I thought he was going to pull the trigger.
So did I. Tech 6 out of 14 from three-point land tonight. You might see another one. Nope. Oliver in the paint to Hammonds. Turnaround jumper. No good. McNeil another offensive rebound. Goes back up and he's fouled by J.R. Reed. Tell you, Johnny McNeil's got a couple big offensive boards, Dan.
Johnny McNeil staying very active inside. When Tom Hammonds catches the ball in here, you can see what kind of attention he draws. J.R. Reed took a step toward him, and McNeil took advantage of that to get position inside. J.R. actually bumped him once before the foul was called, got the foul called on the shot attempt.
Reed with 2 fouls. That was Georgia Tech's 12th offensive rebound to North Carolina. They only have 3. So Tech really hitting the offensive glass. Johnny McNeil. 2 points on 1 field goal in the first half, and this is the free throw. He's a junior college transfer. Originally played his high school ball at High Point, North Carolina. He can give Georgia Tech a 4-point lead should he hit this free throw. And there it is. 14 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the second half. Georgia Tech 47-43. We'll be back after this word from our friends at Natural Light.
Dennis Scott has had a real fine career so far against North Carolina, averaging over 20 points a game. Doing a real fine job. He's got 5 3-pointers tonight, right at 20 points this evening. There you can see 5 of 12 from 3-point range. He's really had a game tonight.
Leading 3-point shooter in the ACC with less than 15 minutes to play. Georgia Tech with a 4-point lead. Rice guarded by Brown on top. In the paint to Reed. J.R. misses a hook. Chilcutt though, nice offensive rebound.
We've been talking about the offensive rebounding that Georgia Tech has done. Chilcutt with a real nice job there against the Georgia Tech zone.
Georgia Tech by 2.
Carolina back to the man-to-man.
Oliver thought about it over Lebo, got it to Scott. Scott's got 22.
Chilcutt can't guard him out there, and that was the matchup.
4-point lead. Dennis Scott, leading scorer in the ball game. J.R. Reed hits it. He's fouled by McNeil.
Brad, at the end of the first half, when Georgia Tech went to this zone defense, it seemed to actually help them defensively. But these last 2 series, very flat-footed defensively there. Johnny McNeil just doesn't realize that J.R. Reed is behind him, and Reed is able to convert the basket.
Fresh body comes in for Georgia Tech. Bobby Kremen sends in Maurice Britton, who will give Johnny McNeil a breather. At the free throw line is J.R. Reed, 6'9" junior from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Scott Williams set to come in for J.R. He'll be at the free throw line. Reed with 12 points on the night. 13. And now he sits down. Boy, you take a J.R. Reed out and you bring a Scott Williams in. Nice luxury to have for a coach, huh?
Well, you've got this team that they have on the court, and you look over at that bench, and you see sitting on the bench Kevin Madden, Jeff Lebo, and J.R. Reed.
Double team on Brown in the backcourt. He's in trouble. Scott will get it across the timeline. Georgia Tech nursing now a 1-point lead. Oliver drives on Rice, wants to get it to Hammonds and can't.
Well, when he drives in like that, he doesn't create very much room for the pass, Brad.
Hammonds in effect double team right now. It's Chilcutt backing in on him, but he's fouled from behind by Fox.
That's really a tough matchup for Rick Fox trying to guard Tom Hammonds. And Hammonds, you could see him very clearly asking for the basketball. I guess ask is probably a very mild word for what he was doing.
Demanding, yeah.
Yes, that's right. But he had Fox in good position.
Hammonds will post up high now. Now he makes his move to the baseline. Oliver with a double team. Trapping North Carolina defense. It's been that way for years and years for Dean Smith.
Trapping out of the zone in this particular instance.
Georgia Tech with a 1-point lead. 13-15 to play in the ball game. Dennis Scott. This will be his 6th three-pointer. If it goes, it won't. And Hammonds mistimed his jump. They'll call offensive interference on Hammonds.
Well, he did mistime his jump, Brad, but he still was able to hang up there long enough that he hit the ball while it was in the cylinder. Dennis Scott really likes the zone. There you see Hammonds. The ball up above the rim in the cylinder, and Hammonds tipped it.
North Carolina can take the lead. Pass is deflected by Scott and picked up by Hammonds. Good defense by Dennis Scott.
More active in the zone that time.
Oliver in low to Britton. Right back outside. Oliver will slow it down. Bobby Cremins calls the play from the bench. Oliver's open for the jumper for 3. No good. Fox has another rebound.
Georgia Tech standing around on offense, Brad. Bobby Cremins wanted them to move and cut through the zone defense. Didn't do it.
Again, Carolina can lead. Williams doesn't get it. Hammonds fights with Fox, and Fox comes out with it.
Chilcutt, nice tip inside to keep that ball alive.
Williams off the glass, no good. Chilcutt again kept it alive, but it came off the backboard, and Dennis Scott pulls it down. Here comes Carl Brown on the run, all the way in. He's fouled.
We've talked a couple of times about the dimension that Carl Brown adds to this Georgia Tech team with his speed, and you saw it right there. He just took the ball down the court. North Carolina not really getting a chance to get set defensively. In fact, he went so fast that Steve Bucknall's shirt tail came out, and that's something you rarely see.
The international flair for these two clubs. Those two were teammates on England's Olympic team, Bucknall and Carl Brown. Bucknall from London, Carl Brown from Leicester, England. So they've seen each other before as teammates, and there Bucknall picks up the foul, and Brown goes to the free throw line where he's really improved over the last few games.
Shooting 82% almost after starting the season hitting only 44.
And he hits that one. Got a lot of iron on it, but it went in for him. And for Carl Brown, his first point.
That's 28 of his last 34 free throws, Brad. So that free throw percentage there is really deceptive. He's on a free throw tear.
His second one, also good. So Brown's first 2 points, and Georgia Tech with a 3-point lead, 12 minutes now remaining in the ball game. Capacity crowd starting to stir again. They've been a little bit quieter this half. Scott Williams in low, and he's got 12 points.
North Carolina finding the hole that time in the Georgia Tech zone defense. It's a funny-looking zone, Brad. It's trying to match up really spread out, and that might be a dangerous thing against the inside power of North Carolina.
Oliver out to Brown on top, looking for Scott. You never know when Dennis Scott's going to put it up, or from where on the court. Gets it into Hammonds and makes his move. Momentarily had an opening, and then Bucknall knocked it out of bounds.
Good job by Bucknall. As that pass went into Hammonds, Bucknall dropped down quickly, but was able to go right back to Scott.
11 minutes, 26 seconds to go in this ball game. Georgia Tech 51-50 leaders over North Carolina. With 11:26 to play in this one, you see Georgia Tech clinging to a 1-point lead. In the SEC, Vandy may be able to share the conference crown in the SEC with that victory. And Cincinnati stuns Louisville. With Dan Bonner, Brad Nessler with you at Alexander Memorial Coliseum. A new record crowd here at the Thriller Dome, they call it. 9,323 have packed this place tonight to watch Georgia Tech try to pick off the number 5 team in the land, and right now they've got the 1-point lead.
Those baby blue uniforms sort of bring the folks out.
They sure do.
Georgia Tech, you can see right there, winning the game despite that poor shooting performance. They've got 13 offensive rebounds, and that's what's kept them in the game.
Tech looking for the good shot.
North Carolina back to playing man-to-man. Scott Williams in a switch. He's matched up against Brian Oliver.
Oliver, double team, over to Brown. Scott might be the open man.
Count it. Carl Brown penetrates, draws the defense, kicks it back to Dennis Scott for the three-pointer.
6 3-pointers for Dennis Scott tonight. Williams ran out of real estate, kicks it out to Lebo. He's been quiet all night. Bucknell thought about a three-pointer. J.R. Reed against Mo Britton, and he walked with it.
Georgia Tech back to the man-to-man defense, Brad. And it's amazing how a team that's used to playing man-to-man can be so much more aggressive in the man-to-man. J.R. with that little hop just before he started his move.
The 13th turnover against North Carolina on the night. You see 5 this half, 13 for the game, and Tech has kept the basketball in hand through this second stanza so far, and we now just have over 10 minutes to go in the ball game.
North Carolina playing that zone again.
Bobby Cremins wants a timeout. Didn't like the looks of something out there. His team will sit down with a 4-point lead. 10 minutes, 11 seconds to play in this one. Georgia Tech with a 54-50 lead on North Carolina. We'll be back after this word from our good friends at Natural Light. Georgia Tech with a 4-point lead, 54-50, with just over 10 minutes to play. 10 minutes, 11 seconds. Those two guys haven't accounted for much tonight, Dan.
No, they sure haven't. Steve Bucknall has not scored this evening. Jeff Lebo has scored just 2 points. You can see what they mean to the North Carolina offense. North Carolina has gotten everything inside, and it's awfully difficult to win if you're going to get everything from inside that three-point line. You've got to get some scoring from outside to open it up inside.
Meanwhile, the man that inbounded the ball for Georgia Tech has 25 points. A lot of those from the outside for the Yellow Jackets. Nice steal by Kevin Madden.
Georgia Tech has done a nice job in the second half taking care of the basketball. That's only turnover number 2.
Bucknall left alone momentarily. Now Oliver's all over him. Enough for the foul. That'll be 3 on Brian Oliver.
Brian Oliver really did not need to get that foul. It is 3 fouls. There's 9 minutes and 55 seconds left in the game, and Bucknall, standing out there with the ball over his head and Oliver right up next to him, was in no position to do anything. Not a very good play by Brian Oliver.
Bobby Cremins wasn't crazy about that foul by Brian Oliver either. Chilcutt. Hammonds gives him some room. Lebo for 3. Wait a minute. Gonna have a foul before the shot
on Kevin Madden. North Carolina really laying some screens on the Yellow Jacket. Lebo is going to lay a real screen inside that he's going to cut outside, and Kevin Madden gets called for the foul as he raises those arms, trying to stop Carl Brown from coming through to get Lebo.
It negates North Carolina's first three-pointer had it been allowed to go, and it would have cut the lead to 1. Instead, still Georgia Tech by 4.
Just talking about how Lebo needed to get some offense, and he got some.
Brown drives in, leaves it for Brett.
And there's what we were talking about, what Carl Brown can do. If he penetrates, somebody's going to be open. He does not have to shoot the ball to be an offensive threat.
Tech by 6. J.R. Reed in the paint over Britton. He's fouled, and it goes. So J.R. Reed's going to have an opportunity for his second three-point play of this half.
Bobby Cremins not pleased with that play. J.R. just powering the ball inside. The problem for Georgia Tech that time was that nobody came to double team J.R. He took a couple of dribbles with the ball. It was he one-on-one against Britton, and J.R. with that nice little jump hook won that one.
J.R. Reed. 15 points on the night, which is his season average. He makes it 16. And he's perfect from the free throw line, 4 for 4.
North Carolina may not realize that you can't win the game without getting some scoring outside. They're doing everything inside and doing a nice job.
Williams a rebound. On the other end, Madden. Dennis Scott pulls off the rebound for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech with a 3-point lead.
Carl Brown has really used the penetration effectively the last 2 trips down the court.
Oliver with Williams on him.
I thought that was a mismatch before, but that's a couple of times in a row down the court.
Hammonds in. Oh, he had it stuck from behind by J.R. Reed. A great defensive play. And Bucknell can't save it on the other end. Kicks it into Georgia Tech. Here comes Oliver. One-on-one move. He scores, and he is fouled. Madden's not too crazy about his second foul.
Not a good play at all by Steve Bucknell. You never throw the ball back in that far in that direction unless you know who you're throwing it to. Madden just does not get there in time. Brian Oliver nearly hits David Dodge in the mouth.
Something to cheer about for Georgia Tech fans with 8:17 to go. They've got a 5-point lead. Dean Smith obviously heated by that last call, and he's pointing at the officials, and the technical has been called.
Now Oliver is going to shoot the one shot. The technical is against Scott Williams, so Oliver is going to shoot this one for the foul.
And he hits it.
And then Oliver's probably going to stay there to shoot the technical free throw.
Dean Smith about as happy as Scott Williams is, I'm sure. And Williams now will sit down. Brian Oliver at the free throw line. He's a perfect 3 for 3 on the night, 78% on the season. Missed the second.
Somehow he's standing there, there's nobody at the lane, but it's his free throw, so he makes it okay. Then the technical free throw, somehow everybody gets a little tighter with those technical free throws.
That's a real true free one when you have the technical. Georgia Tech by 6.
Lebo looking for the double team, and here comes Bucknell.
Scott outside. No good. Didn't get the roll, and Hammonds didn't get the rebound. Bucknell for 3. No good. Dennis Scott went up, got a piece of it, and it'll be North Carolina ball.
Bucknell still has yet to score in the basketball game. Now Bucknell's going to try to get his feet set here. He does, and he's able to let the ball go. Just not his night in terms of three-point range. Dennis Scott knocks it out of bounds. Trying to do a little refereeing there.
Bucknell picked up by Oliver on top. J.R. Reed at the free throw line. Mo Britton close to him. Bucknell, the three-pointer, won't go. He can't buy one out there tonight, but J.R. Reed keeps it alive with the offensive boards. Lebo's 3. No good. Nice rebound by Bucknell, but he lost the handle, and Dennis Scott's got the turnover.
You can't hold the ball indefinitely in that lane, Brad. Eventually you're going to lose it.
Brown, Scott, boy, I thought he was going to put it up. I really did.
So did everybody else.
Georgia Tech with a 6-point lead that matches their biggest of the night, and it is at the 7-12 mark of the ball game. And there's the three-pointers and a 21-point difference Georgia Tech has in that category. Brown in low somehow got 3, but missed in low, and J.R. Reed another rebound.
Been talking about the struggles of Lebo and Bucknell. North Carolina's done a nice job in the second half of cutting off Tom Hammonds.
Bucknell finally scores. That's his first basket, and North Carolina's first three-pointer of the second half.
Tom Hammonds only has 2 in the second half, Brad. 2 points, that is, not 2 3-pointers.
Georgia Tech leading by 3.
And you can just feel the intensity picking up as we go along here.
And every time Dennis Scott touches it, you feel that too. Hammonds too far out, I think, for his turnaround Jay that time. And he, gonna mix it up with J.R. Reed. Boy, I'd hate to be an official in the middle of that thing. And Tom Hammonds is normally a pretty level-headed kid.
Well, the last thing in the world that Tom Hammonds wants to do right now is get himself thrown out of this basketball game. Not a very good decision by Hammonds to shoot the ball. He and J.R. going after one another and get right in one another's face. We've talked talked about the intensity of this game. There's David Dawkins getting in there, risking his life. Nice job by the officials to break that up before it becomes anything more serious than just a shouting match.
I'm sorry, if I'm an official, I forget about my whistle. I put my dukes up between those two guys.
That's a nice piece of officiating right there.
Yeah, they did a fine job. And
now Dean Smith has the luxury. JR's a little hot, so Dean takes him out of the game. Bobby Cremins, there's no way he can take Hammonds out of the ball game. Tom Hammonds has to show a bit better discipline right at the moment.
Fox in low. Scott cut him off. Lebo with only 2 points tonight. Fox, nice pass to Chilcutt, but he missed the shot. And a foul
on Scott Williams.
McNeil tried to get the rebound, and Williams has another foul.
McNeil had good position inside. Hammonds is sort of patrolling the middle. They get the ball inside to Chilcutt. Good defense there. You can see McNeil with excellent position. Williams forced to come over the back. As Hammonds is going to go across here, you can see McNeil opens up and sees the ball. Now watch him slide down right there at the bottom of your screen. Step in front of Scott Williams. That's excellent defense.
Johnny McNeil's really done a good job positioning himself for the rebounds tonight. Scott Williams picks up his third personal, and McNeil at the line on the other end where he's 1 for 2 tonight. That's 3 points on the evening, and he hits the free throw. Georgia Tech by 4 with just over 6 minutes to go. One of the Yellow Jacket faithful here at Alexander Memorial Coliseum. And as this one rolls along, if Tech holds out of this lead, you'll be able to hear the noise generated by this capacity crowd. McNeil hits both free throws. He's hit his last 3 from the line. J.R. Reed checking back in.
To a chorus of boos.
Jeff Lebo, one of the seniors on this squad. Rice, Chilcutt will sit down. A 5-point Georgia Tech lead with 6 minutes to go. Carolina's missed their last 5 shots. Bucknall almost changed that, but the rebound is Johnny McNeil again. Here comes Tech on the run. Hammonds, look out! Wow! I told you they'd get noisy. Williams, no good, and a foul.
Tom Hammonds runs the floor pretty well, and you will just see nice job there by McNeil. Carl Brown pitching it ahead. Hammonds just smells this all the way. Look at the extension. Wow!
You think that one's going to make the Georgia Tech highlight film? And look at almost no expression on his face on the other end. He's a pretty cool customer.
They call him the Terminator. He terminated that fast break.
Georgia Tech has their biggest lead, 7 points for Bobby Cremins. Williams momentarily quieting the crowd. And he hits both. So Williams has 14. It's a 5-point Georgia Tech lead, 5:40. There you see the clock remaining in the ball game. And a foul on North Carolina.
North Carolina tried to come with some full court pressure that time. Carl Brown very nearly lost control of the ball, but he had the right idea. Keep your dribble and get through that pressure.
Foul was the third on Madden, so he'll sit down, and Bucknall comes back in. 3 fouls all this half. Madden on the bench with 3 personals, as we mentioned, all this half. Georgia Tech, the number 10 team in the country in free throw percentage, leading the ACC. Carl Brown, that was 30 of his last 36.
Brad, we talked about North Carolina having real balanced scoring offensively in the first half. They have not had that in the second half.
Tech 11 of 14 from the stripe in this ball game. Carl Brown missed that one.
Now he missed that one, but what a game he has played tonight. His speed, I think, has been a big factor for Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech up by 6 with under 5.5 minutes to play.
Keep your eye on Hammonds and J.R. Reed. Johnny McNeil just working like crazy inside against Scott Williams.
Tar Heels have taken their last 6 shots without one going down for them. This one does. J.R. Reed does it around Tom Hammonds, and he's got 18.
Now, Hammonds only has one personal foul, Brad. There's only 5 minutes left in the ball game. Hammonds should get real aggressive on defense inside.
Brown out to Oliver.
Can't let J.R. have the one that's that easy.
Hammonds and Reed in low. Oh, there's a couple of elbows inside. Brown with the outside shot, no good. Hammonds up and in. Hammonds with 15. Again, Tech by 6.
Georgia Tech dropping back into that zone. They need to be active in the zone.
Nice lob. Williams has 16.
North Carolina does a great job attacking by passing the ball into their big guys along the baseline. And if you're going to play zone against North Carolina, you've got to get in front of those guys.
Every time Georgia Tech has threatened to kind of blow it open, North Carolina's come right back, and now they've got a chance to cut further into Georgia Tech's 4-point lead. And Bucknall thought about a three-pointer. In low to the main man. Offensive interference on Williams, and Dean Smith is livid on the sideline. A chair might fly out in a moment.
I don't think I've ever seen Dean Smith with that kind of a reaction. This is not the most recent play, but you can see Scott Williams on the series before this gets great position against that Georgia Tech zone. Now we'll get a chance to see that last play. Hammonds in a mismatch out there. Nobody's guarding Scott Williams, so he's got a clear lane to the basket. He's going to get up there.
3 minutes, 59 seconds to go in this one. Georgia Tech holding a 66-62 lead. We'll be back in Atlanta in a moment. 3 minutes and 59 seconds to go at Alexander Memorial Coliseum, and Georgia Tech with a 66-62 lead. Dean Smith was a little hot a few moments ago, has calmed after the timeout, and his team gets a steal for him after the timeout.
North Carolina has always done a great job defending the inbounds pass.
Fox on the fly is bumped by Brian Oliver as he crosses the lane, and that's foul trouble now for Brian Oliver. And that's his fourth.
Bobby Cremins standing over on Georgia Tech sidelines with his hands on his hips. Just not a very good play by Georgia Tech to not be able to get the ball inbounds. North Carolina going to take advantage against the Georgia Tech man-to-man defense. A real good cut by Rick Fox. Brian Oliver just not in good position and gets the foul.
Carolina, the number 3 team in the ACC in free throw percentage at 72%. As Fox hits his only free throw of the night, he's got 11 points. Now 12.
And that's a big defensive play by North Carolina to cut the lead to 2. They needed a big defensive series, and they had one as Lebo steals the inbounds pass.
It wasn't long ago. Tech had a 6-point cushion. Almost throwing it away was Dennis Scott, but Brian Oliver went high for it.
But Georgia Tech's got to attack. They can't beat the pressure just by throwing the ball back out to half court. Georgia Tech, though, spreading the floor.
This has not been their greatest offense in past seasons. The better team, as Dan said, on the attack mode. Now they start to move it toward the hole. Tommy Hammonds double team, but he's fouled en route to the basket. If it's on Williams, it's going to be 4 on him.
That's sort of a pick'em foul right there. Georgia Tech going to punch the Hammonds, doing a nice job getting position inside. And one thing that spread offense does is it moves everybody away from Hammonds, so he's able to get the ball. And even though he ends up being triple teamed, he draws the foul.
Mo Britton will check into the lineup for Georgia Tech.
That foul was called against Scott Williams, but the thing about that play is Hammonds has had very little opportunity to turn to the basket tonight. The double teams have been so quick, but with the floor spread by Georgia Tech on the offense, Hammonds has time to turn and point to the basket.
Tom Hammonds, 1 for 2 from the line tonight. That's free throw good. Hammonds with 7 points this half, 16 on the night, and he's one of the money men for Georgia Tech down the stretch from the free throw line. The 3 people they wanted in the hands of are Hammonds, Scott, and Oliver. A double-double for Tom Hammonds already tonight, and he hits both free throws. Those were big for Georgia Tech.
We're a long way from being done, though, Brad.
You got that right. 3:15 to play. Georgia Tech by 4.
Georgia Tech back to the man-to-man defense.
Lebo into Reed. J.R. out to Bucknall. Brian Oliver in foul trouble, has to give Bucknall a little room. Fox from way out, and he hits it, but it's a 2-pointer.
Fox scored 10 points in the first half. That's his first 2 of the second half.
2-point Georgia Tech lead. Under 3 minutes to play. Again, Georgia Tech content to move it around the perimeter. Bobby Cremins wants him to move a little quicker, though.
North Carolina playing in that zone, and on signal from Steve Bucknall, suddenly the hands went up, and it looks like they might try to double team if they get the opportunity.
Dennis Scott's got 25 to lead all scorers, but he hasn't scored in quite a while. Britton and Brown, and they move it around the perimeter. 12 on the shot clock. As Hammond scores. That's why they're retiring his jersey. That's how he's played for 4 years here at Georgia Tech. Bucknall steps outside the line to take the shot and hit it. It paid off for him.
Boy, what a nice job by Bucknall to know where that line was. He struggled to get his feet beyond the line, and sometimes you don't get really set when you do that, but he drilled it.
A 1-point game with less than 2 to play.
North Carolina in man-to-man now. Bucknall trying to work pretty hard to keep the ball away from Dennis Scott.
Oliver in low, Hammonds double teamed, and Fox knocked it away. And Carolina, with 1:40 to play, has a chance to lead. J.R. Reed on Mo Britton. No good off the glass. Kick still no good. Knocked out. Last touch by Hammond.
Kevin Madden operating inside against the taller Maurice Britton, and Tom Hammonds is nonetheless able to keep the ball alive. Reed pounding it up there against Mo Britton. You can see Madden with the tip, and that tip keeps the ball alive, and Britton and Hammonds knock it out of bounds.
Johnny McNeil comes back in for Georgia Tech. He's done a nice job on the boards tonight. Maurice Britton will sit down. 1:34 to play. North Carolina trailing 70-69.
You gotta like that last Bucknall play. Really going for the juggle, going for the three-point shot. J.R. with just great position.
On Hammonds. And Hammonds with the foul.
Hammonds asking for the foul, but J.R., he wanted that basketball, and once he got it, there was nobody from Georgia Tech to double team, and he just took Hammonds to the basket. Watch this now. Nobody in position to come down and double team. J.R. is just going to power to the basket against Hammonds.
Georgia Tech holding a 70-69 lead. A minute and 26 seconds to play in this thriller here at Alexander Memorial Coliseum. Tech 70, Carolina 69. It's a slim 70-69 lead. Brad Nessler and Dan Bonner with you. And if Georgia Tech can hold on and win this, it would definitely tighten things up in the ACC. Keep in mind, Duke lost to Clemson tonight. We'll explain that if we have time as we go. The remaining 1 minute and 26 seconds. Boy, this has been a great one.
J.R. Reed going to go to the free throw line. J.R.'s trying to line up in the lane. Doesn't realize that he's the free throw shooter. Now they got him in the right place.
He's got 18 points tonight, and he has been perfect from the free throw line. 4 for 4.
It's nice at the end of the game when you see a guy that wants the ball like J.R. just wanted it.
And he hits the free throw. North Carolina 12 out of 13 from the line tonight. And it's a tie game. There you see, 12 of 13, now 13 of 14, and North Carolina regains the lead by 1. It all comes down to this.
Obviously, quite a big possession for Georgia Tech.
Oliver, Hammonds, and Scott are the three guys. Oh, and a steal by Williams.
Georgia Tech's done a pretty good job all night, Brad, against the double teams. They didn't that time.
Pass to Williams in low, and he has it blocked. He's fouled by McNeil. McNeil says, I got all basketball. And now North Carolina's got it in their hands to win.
And Scott Williams was the guy who makes the steal down on the one end. And then look, he gets away from McNeil inside. McNeil's worried about J.R. Reed, loses Scott Williams inside and fouls him. Dean Smith directing his team go to the basket. Obviously, Dean's a little more pleased right at the moment than he was a few seconds ago.
Little body English by Coach Smith. His Carolina team has missed only one free throw all night. Williams, 3 for 3 from the line for his 17. And he misses the second one, and a big rebound for Tom Hammonds. Now Georgia Tech can tie this trip down. Less than a minute to play. And almost another steal. Fox got his hand in front of Brian Oliver, and Brian Oliver told Carl Brown, let's just calm down here a little bit.
You know, Brad, you don't have a program that wins 20 games in a row for 19 straight years unless you can play some defense at the end of a basketball game. North Carolina showing you right now But Rick Fox is going to get a foul right there, trying to deny Carl Brown the ball on the inbounds pass.
So Carl Brown, the pressure will be on him as he goes to the free throw line. We've talked about his statistics. He's 3 for 4 tonight.
But he missed his last one.
That's right. How much has he remembered that, and how much pressure on this young junior college kid? As mentioned earlier, a native of Leicester, England. Played basketball only 6 years. And there's the stat. Georgia Tech leading the conference in free throw shooting, and they're over their percentage mark tonight. But the two biggest are right here, or the 1 and 1, I should say. And he hits the first. Boy, he makes them exciting, doesn't he?
That's not what you call your perfect stroke.
Maurice Britton comes in. Johnny McNeil goes out.
Now, if he can make this one, Brad, there's 53 seconds left in the game. The score would be tied. North Carolina would have to shoot the ball again. So even if they score, Georgia Tech could have a chance to get it back. But this is a big free throw right here.
Obviously the biggest one of the night. And it comes off. J.R. Reed tried to save it. Carl Brown tries to do likewise, and he slides out of bounds. Off Hammonds, off J.R. Reed, and then Carl Brown tried to dive between the benches.
J.R. Reed does a real fine job right here. He's trying to bounce it off Hammonds, and I think the ball actually scrapes Brian Oliver's hands. Carl Brown realizes that, so J.R. knocked it off a Georgia Tech player. Not the one he was looking for, but it's a good play by J.R. nonetheless.
As North Carolina huddles around Dean Smith, they have a 1-point lead with 49 seconds remaining. The timeouts remaining you see there. North Carolina with one more than Georgia Tech. But they've got the basketball with 49 seconds to go, so they can milk the clock, Dan, and they're a good free throw shooting team. They proved that tonight.
Well, Brad, they can milk the clock, but with 49 seconds left in the game, they're going to have to give the ball up. To play aggressively on defense. You don't want to let anybody get behind you and give North Carolina an easy one. If you give one up, now what do we got here?
5-second call. Madden didn't get it in time. Oh, what a turnaround that is. Talk about a big sin with 49 seconds to go. And now Tech can almost play it for one, if that's what they choose to do.
Well, that's a pretty gutsy move, playing it for one shot. Win it or lose it. Great defense by Georgia Tech.
Brown double team. Scott looks up at the clock. Oliver near midcourt with now 33. You see the clock.
4 seconds difference between the shot clock and the game clock.
Brian Oliver.
Looks like that's what Bobby Cremins is going to do. We're going to go down to the end.
Now the play's called. 3 fingers up on the hand of Bobby Cremins. Whatever that means, we'll find out. Dennis Scott trying to get free. 14 on the game clock. 9, now 8 on the shot clock, and a timeout call by Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech was going to try to do it without the timeout, Brad, but they obviously didn't have anything. Only 7 seconds left on the shot clock, so good move by Georgia Tech to call the timeout, get it set.
North Carolina's won 7 straight from the Yellow Jackets. The last time Bobby Cremins' team was able to win was in '85 in the ACC championship game. Finish as Georgia Tech won the ACC title in '85. It's the last time they beat North Carolina. That was 7 attempts ago. And those are the kind of thrills you'll see at the Atlantic Coast Conference men's tournament coming up from the Omni here in Atlanta, March 10th through the 12th. And it'll be a beauty. If it's anything like the game we've had tonight, you don't want to miss it.
As the teams take the floor, Brad, Georgia Tech is going to get a timeout. We could be here a while. Do you see 11 seconds? That's the time left in the game. There are 7 seconds left on the shot clock.
So even if Georgia Tech took it to the very limit and were able to score, North Carolina would still have 4 seconds to try to score themselves, and they do have a timeout with which to stop it. Georgia Tech out of timeouts, as you see there.
And And that's, I think, a dangerous situation to be in against North Carolina, as well as they can defend that inbounds play. We saw Georgia Tech do a nice job, get the 5-second call. There's the shot clock with 7 seconds. But Georgia Tech did a nice job defensively, got the 5-second call against North Carolina. So if you're Bobby Cremins, planning strategy, the first thing you've got to worry about is getting the ball in bounds. And lots of times in this kind of a situation, regardless of what you draw up as Bobby Cremins, regardless of what you draw up as Dean Smith, once the players get out there, they do their own things. And in a kind of situation like this, sometimes it's not the guy who shoots the ball that wins the game, but a lot of times it's the fellow with the tip-in. So North Carolina's got to play good defense and make sure they block out.
The man that wants the ball in this instance will inbound. That's Dennis Scott. He gets it into Oliver. In low, tried to get it to Hammonds. Hammonds finally picks it up, and a foul. Or did Hammonds step on the line?
The ball went out of bounds. The ball was ruled out of bounds off Tom Hammonds. And so now North Carolina is going to call a timeout to try to set up. There's only 8 seconds left in the basketball game. Now this is the play Georgia Tech ran to beat Maryland a couple of weeks ago, to Brian Oliver, then inside to Tom Hammonds. That is a great defensive play by J.R. Reed to come around and knock the ball away without fouling. Tom Hammonds not able to pick the ball up. Bobby Cremins up off the bench telling his team to foul. But they're going to have to get a foul quickly.
We'll see who North Carolina brings out of their huddle. As we mentioned, they have missed only 2 free throws all night, and Georgia Tech's out of timeouts. Another thing to keep in mind.
Well, now another thing to consider is the last time that North Carolina had the ball out of bounds in this situation, leading by 72-71, they couldn't get it inbounds. Georgia Tech forced the 5-second call.
So that's the kind of defense Georgia Tech would love to see again. And if North Carolina does indeed get it on the court, Georgia Tech will foul either Kevin Madden, Rice, Lebo, Reed, or Bucknall. There's the 5-out for North Carolina. And full court pressure by Georgia Tech. Bucknall will be the man fouled by Tom Hammonds. And that's not a bad choice, although Georgia Tech didn't have much of an opportunity to pick anybody. Well, I was going to say it's not a bad choice, but I was thinking about Madden's free throw percentage, not Bucknall.
Bucknall's about 7 to 6.
That's right. Scott Williams comes back in. North Carolina 14 of 16 from the free throw line tonight.
Well, if you're Dean Smith, you don't coach 28 years and win 660 games without having something upstairs. And he had his worst free throw shooter take the ball out in a situation where he knew as soon as the ball got inbounds, there would be a foul.
Bucknall at the free throw line. As Dan said, a 76% free throw shooter. If he misses, Georgia Tech has 7 seconds to come down court and get a shot.
Even if he makes, they get 7 seconds.
That's right. And he hits it.
And with Dennis Scott in the ball game, Georgia Tech's not done yet, even if he makes this.
A 2-point difference now.
Dean Smith is telling his team to foul.
That's right.
He's telling his team to foul. He doesn't want any 3-pointers.
Bucknall, his second is good. That might ice it. Tech will try to get it in the hands of either Brian Oliver or Dennis Scott. They're going to foul Carl Brown instead with 5 seconds to go. Now I would think Brown tries to make the first and miss the second. Of course, we can only coach so much over here. Those guys on the other side, including that man and that man, do it much better.
Nice job by Dean Smith right there.
Very nice.
Good work by our folks to pick up Dean Smith, telling his people to foul. He doesn't want any 3-pointers.
Carl Brown 4 for 5 from the free throw line tonight.
Of course, he's got to make the first one to even set this up.
And he does.
Now, what you got to do, a lot of people, they just try to throw the ball up there on the miss. So Carl Brown's got to be real careful that when he shoots the ball, he doesn't step across the line, because the shooter can't go across the line until the ball hits the rim. Everybody else can go when he releases the ball. So the shooter has to be very disciplined in this situation.
Bobby Cremins has told his team, if Carolina gets the rebound, to foul them. And Brown hits them both.
And the inbound pass stolen by Scott. He's scored! Dennis Scott has scored for Georgia Tech. And there's mayhem at Alexander Memorial Coliseum. 1 second to go. But Dennis Scott, who's done it all night, has done it again. Unbelievable. There is 1 second. These fans have to get off the court. It's possible that a technical foul will be called The Tech players trying to shove Georgia Tech fans. As you see Scott from three-point land, do you believe that? (76-74) Georgia Tech. Bobby Cremins says, wait a minute, and he starts to celebrate as well, thinking the time had expired.
And what a job of crowd control by the Georgia Tech players. They actually took Brian Oliver, was down underneath, throwing people off the court. There's 1 second left in the game. I don't know who it was for North Carolina, but somebody had the presence of mind to call timeout.
The final one for North Carolina. What a tremendous basketball game here in Atlanta.
You know, you figure the game's over. Carl Brown, maybe he was trying to miss that shot, maybe not. But what a play by Dennis Scott.
The kid has 7 3-pointers tonight. They call him Great Scott here in Atlanta. Dennis will do just fine. Let's take another look.
Now Brown with the real high arc, it looked to me like he was trying to miss it. Now Madden just sort of a lazy pass trying to hit Scott Williams. What a great play.
The shot heard round the ACC on this
Now
night.
there's none of those 4 people in the screen for North Carolina that you could see who called the timeout. They thought the game was over. Everybody walking off the court. I don't know who called timeout. But whoever did, it's a great play.
Georgia Tech hasn't beaten North Carolina in the last 7 attempts. They've added a second on the clock, now 2 ticks left.
And this is plenty of time.
Madden loads it and fires it. Fox at the buzzer. It doesn't go, and Georgia Tech has picked off North Carolina here at the Thriller Dome. And Bobby Cremins and Dean Smith shake hands. Dennis Scott with an unbelievable shot with 2 seconds to go, and Georgia Tech has upset number 5 North Carolina. Your final score, the Yellow Jackets 76, the Tar Heels 74. Final score, Georgia Tech 76, North Carolina 74. It's